Hello guys, it's Christian from Emotions in Wine. So we are at Easter Sips 3 weeks ago or so. Easter Tips, I recommend you to watch if you missed it, because there I talk about the introduction of these grapes and regions and the wineries. Today focus on the wines and the tasting. So I opened a few hours before, but I didn't drink yet because I wanted to do live today as usual. Unlike last year when I did the day after, because it was also age wines. Today we have young ones. So I picked the two that are more similar. Crozes-Hermitage from Domaine Bot, so North Rhône Valley, 23 vintage, 12.5 alcohol. So Syrah, 100%. And Antonio Madeira Tinto 2021 DAO, which is in the middle of Portugal, 12.5 alcohol also. This is a blend, classic of Portuguese wines. Similar characteristics in some ways, similar styles in a way. So these are the reasons why I picked them. There was something else in the tips, but I wanted to give some more comparable wines, even if grapes and blends are completely different. So Domaine Bot, he's New Zealander, the wife is from Rhône Valley, they met there. They started from scratch in 2015, so it's only 10 years. They are already quite famous in France and even outside, because I sourced it online out of France. From scratch, really, they planted at the beginning the vineyards because they didn't have money to buy. Now I don't know if they have some rented or other, because since some vineyards are a bit older, but the start was that, in a garage, the first vintage. So really chapeau to them. And from beginning, sustainable. They say organic, but it's not certified. So sustainable, minimal intervention, looking for elegance and finesse. So less extraction. There is no specific about that. The website doesn't tell a lot, but some info are quite foundable. And the elegance is the key component. The ratings and the comments are already very good in this short period of time. So they are well considered. Color is ruby, is a 23 vintage, so it's very young still. Yeah, not too intense. Dark fruit immediately, touch of spicy. So looking for more elegant, I guess is not specified, but that they do a shorter maceration. They do 10 months of French barriques. No mention if newer or less. First impression, I would say not that new, even because Syrah has naturally spiciness, so doesn't need much from the oak. Crozes-Hermitage is the biggest appellation, as I explained in the other video, in North Rhône, and is all surrounding Hermitage. Different slopes, different soil characteristics. This is in the southern part of the area, not far from the river, on gravel, sandy, so even smooth and quite low altitude. But there even yield is higher, so it's the entry wine of the Syrah appellations in North Rhône. So also for that reason the alcohol is lower and the price also consequently. This I paid 24 euros, which for North Rhône is reasonable. It's very elegant. Quite good intensity and complexity between the dark fruits and the spiciness. Maybe a part of new oak, because now it's quite spicy actually. Touch of ethereal also. Yeah, very pleasant, very nice. Actually, seems more mature than 23 because it has a good balance already, both nose and palate. Tongue is silky, very gentle. So that is the advantage of the sandy soil, and also the appellation in itself that gives more approachable wines, as I explained. It's not like Côte-Rôtie or Hermitage that they need crazy aging. Then, of course, the winemaking style helps also because, as I said, shorter extraction gives you a more approachable wine. It's really nice balance with a nice freshness, nice roundness from the fruit. the touch of spice also on the palate, so it's very well done. Honestly, for the category, it's a nice wine. And especially for the age, because it's just 2 years and a half. Of course, I don't expect huge complexity. Another reason why I did open earlier, but I did the live because they are quite young, so they will not change that much, even tomorrow. I go to the other one, then I will come back. So here is Antonio Madeira, Frenchman, but originally from Dow region, which is southeast of Porto, so in the center almost of the country. So it's a bit away from the ocean and is quite higher altitude. This region is historical, has an incredible heritage of old vines and grapes, so varieties. He himself has 45 different grapes. Unbelievable. When I read it, I was surprised. Portugal, similarly to Italy, has a huge heritage, but in a small wine region with he himself only 45, but maybe even more. So it's incredible, really. I don't know any Italian region where you have that kind of number of indigenous varieties only, not Merlot, Cabernet, and Chardonnay. So it's impressive. He came back to his roots to build something crazy. He's already well spoken about. Since he is the reference, the pioneer in natural wine, so biodynamic is not certified, but he's following that. He's also not that long there and recover all these old vineyards and a lot of grapes. As stated, many vineyards have the blend itself, so different grapes all together. That is really the old style. This is inner, is really on the eastern side of Dow, so he is below the mountain. Serra de Estrella, which is going up to 1,800. He's really on the slopes, so he's the upper part of the Eastern wine region at 500-600 meters, granite soil, so you have cooler, the mountain above, so very interesting also for the style of the wine that comes out. And on top of that, he is doing very short maceration, cold first, to extract very little, so he's really looking for finesse as much as possible. In the vinification, is using French Barrique Tonneau used only for this wine. So this is Tinto 21, is the entry wine, a blend of Alfrocheiro, Touriga Nacional, and couple of other minor, plus a 20% of field blend from older vineyards. While these Alfrocheiro, Touriga Nacional, etc. are 15-20 years old vines. But those are vinified separately, while the other 20% is vinified altogether. So very interesting also this, I've never seen in my life. And in total, it is not even known how many grapes, because there are the 4 plus some others. So he maybe doesn't know either how many grapes in total. So very interesting. The wine is quite surprising. I read good things, so I was already curious, but is a nice surprise. It's very tiny so far, even if he's making more than 10,000 bottles of this wine. But I sourced it online out of Portugal, so a European website. So interesting, not easy to find anyway. It's very particular. Even here, Touriga Nacional and Alfrocheiro, similar as I mentioned in the other video, with the dark fruit, acidity, and natural spiciness. But the character is completely different from the Rhône one. There is an impressive minerality on the nose immediately, the granite. That's it. In North Rhône, you have also granite, but not in the case of Crozes-Hermitage, where is more different soils, as we've seen. Here is all granite, and is really a footprint. Prevailing on the fruity, which is not that dark actually like the other, and as I expected from the characteristics of Touriga Nacional and Alfrocheiro, is less dark fruit than Crozes-Hermitage. I would say berries, various berries. The spiciness is little instead. The oak for sure is not contributed, but as I said, naturally they have these grapes, so I was expecting a bit more. Then this one is also aged longer, it's 21, so has already a bit more to say. Color is slightly more intense ruby, even if it's 2 years older. That is, of course, related to the grapes. The yields for sure here are much lower because of all the plants, first of all. Yeah, it's changing, it's changing. It's juicy, really, really juicy. The acidity, the fruit, the mineral, silky tannin, really, is a short maceration declared, but it's still a decent intensity, the color. But the extraction on the palate, you see that is not that much. It's really juicy, really on the purity, I would say, yes, of the fruit. And the influence of the oak seems very minimal, so really mostly for the micro oxygenation and vinification. Very interesting wine. Of course, not huge complexity, not tertiary yet, so it's not a big wine. I mean, even in the characteristics beside the structure, they are both medium bodied, I would say, no, not more than that. But it's very interesting and particular, different, even with my knowledge a bit of Touriga in particular and other Portuguese. This is much more refined and delicate for sure, but even different characteristics. Back to Crozes-Hermitage, it's changing quite a bit actually. So even the complexity is quite nice for the category. Let's remember the Crozes-Hermitage is the entry level of North Rhône for the reds. Yeah, more spiciness coming out. The mineral was not that much so far, now a bit. Indeed, is the less mineral driven wine of the North Rhône. Start something probably from the oak, touch of chocolate. But anyway, very elegant. Even this one, I would say refined food, because Crozes-Hermitage is generally easier, but tend to be more straightforward. This one has a bit more than usually, so a very nice expression. So if you like Syrah, is a great entry point, this kind of wine. The appellation, first of all, but winery like this in particular, even because it's drinkable young, you don't need to wait longer because it's less extracted, so less power. Yes, nice complexity, nice complexity. Less fruit now, more the spiciness. Even a hint of tobacco. So here there is a bit of oak influence. And very balanced, pleasant. So you can even sip it easily. But of course, it's a great match for this kind of food. As I said, you can find richer and more powerful, more structured expressions in these regions for the lamb, the classic Easter meal. But even these do their job. I like more elegant wines, as you know, if you follow. So I still prefer to go for this kind of wines. Of course, here you don't have that tannic and acidity that can clean super, but lamb without sauces is more than enough. More than enough. Very nice, very nice. Good length, good depth, medium bodied, very pleasant. That is also important. So a good balance, perfect drinking window already, even if it's very young. Of course, can wait a bit longer. Potential of aging is not huge, few years I would say, but in these moments, so it's a nicer wine to drink at 3-4 years old. Okay, also here, more change. This is very particular. I quite like it. Then also he's biodynamic convinced, natural really, he's the pioneer is said in that, and it's not easy, especially when you have little experience, because he started, as said, few years, so he's doing a great job already to be at this level, even of finesse, which is the first risk for the biodynamic. It's really fine, really. Still mostly the berries, different ones. The spices little, very subtle. And the mineral continue to mark a lot. even on the nose, you have this juiciness. So really the purity of the fruit, I'm quite impressed actually. Even if with that use of oak will not give that much of complexity, so that may be a bit of lack. But how is made the wine is very nice, very nice. Yeah, it has a bit more than the other. So this is, we will say, medium plus bodied. Now with the second sip, there is a bit more grip of the acidity, the minerality, a touch of the tannin. So it has a bit more structure. So it's even better to clean the fat of the lamb and leaving you this mineral, not salty, just a hint maybe, but this minerality, this touch of the sweet fruit and a touch of the spice. And now even the fruit turning a bit. Yeah, I would say that the minerality is giving a touch of flinty, both on the nose and on the palate, and it's staying there a lot. So even great length, honestly. That is also contributed by the age of vines, and that is giving more depth and length. Yeah, this juicy mineral, very, very pleasant. I'm very happy of the pick and quite surprised. Only thing we can say, yes, with the used oak, there is the purity, but there is less complexity. Of course, with the tertiary, this can age a lot, actually. I think even if it's the entry red for him, I think 10 years easily, even more, and probably in 5 will be even more interesting with more tertiary notes, giving more complexity. So for the price, is an outstanding one. This is 18 euros. So both great expressions, great value for money. Of course, this one is giving me something more, even if the other has a bit more complexity from the oak, but this is more particular, more special, and leaving even more on the palate, and even giving you more perspective of development. So quite impressed, very nice wines. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you can discover some of these things special and different. See you next time. Like, subscribe, help us to grow, and salute.